Forward TV. The world is thinking.
This is a portrait of Iran that I've painted in my work. And it came as a shock to the world in May of 2005 when a very conservative man, I think everyone's now familiar with his name, Ahmadinajad, was elected president. The question being, well, if Iran is truly this nation of very moderate and progressive young people who are secular in their outlook and want better relations with the West, how did they or why did they elect this man who has come to be known only for his fundamentalism, his defiance of the West, his denial of the Holocaust? It didn't quite square together. So I was sent back by Time magazine to sort of explain and write about how this had all come to be. How did Iranians elect him, and what did it mean? And in the course of that, first I'll tell you quickly how that did come to be. He ran on a platform of change, and I think in this country we're familiar with that notion. It will resonate with you here because we've recently had an election where people really felt like they wanted a profound change in government in all of the ways that mattered. And that was the approach that Ahmadinejad very cleverly used in 2005. He promised to tackle corruption. He promised to bring the country's oil wealth to people's dinner tables. He promised to be different than all of the other establishment candidates. And people really were attracted to that. And I think that it was very clever because most of the other candidates in that election they didn't pitch themselves to people that way. They were running on the youth vote. They were sort of going with the sort of trend in politics up until that moment, which was sort of the basic understanding that young people want more freedom, and so if you want to be successful in an election, you have to appeal to young people. So the other candidates had really attractive young women passing out banners for them on the street. They had carloads of sort of hip young people running around with the sort of their names emblazoned on the back. Their campaign headquarters were sort of blasting Western music, banned Western music, I might add. And really were targeting what was felt to be the sort of demographic that was going to drive the election. Well, what had happened that this all sort of was... What contributed to that misjudgment? Well, the young people that I wrote about in Lipstick Jihad, who were all in their early 20s at that point and very concerned with things like dating and privacy and their parties not being raided, well, they were slightly older. They were in their late 20s or some had come into their early 30s and were a little bit more, their concerns had evolved. They weren't although they were still concerned about all of those things, they were at an age where they were thinking about getting married. They wanted to move out of their homes and start sort of independent lives as married people. And so things like real estate and can we find an affordable apartment, jobs and can I find a decent job to support a family? Can I reach that sort of level of economic independence, financial independence that will help me be able to start a life outside of my parents' home? These are what that sort of slightly older baby boomer generation was thinking about in that year of 2005. And so that's how... And that's what Ahmadinejad responded to. And so his victory, and this is a theme in my book, and I sort of chronicle it, was not really because Iranians at the time were feeling defiant or nationalist or wanted to defy the West, but because they were hoping that he would improve their daily lives.